guys, in this video we are going to discuss about audit of general insurance companies. Coming to the first point, what is the legal framework? Legal framework, there are 5 acts: Insurance Act 1938, IRDA Act 1999, IRDA Regulations, Companies Act 2013, and General Insurance Business Act 1972. This question may be asked for 4 marks. It has already been asked for 4 marks in the previous attempts. And coming to what are the 5 acts? Again, Insurance Act 1938 as amended in 2015, IRDA Act 1999, IRDA Regulations, Companies Act 2013, General Insurance Business Act 1972. And coming to the regulatory requirements, right? Under the Insurance Act 1938 as amended in 2015, there are the following requirements. Regulatory requirements are there for the insurance companies. What are they? We'll see. In section 3, registration. Every insurance company or reinsurance company shall be registered before commencement of its insurance business. That is mentioned in section 3. And coming to section 6, it is very important section. That is a capital requirement. Capital requirement has been defined, has been prescribed in this particular section 6 of Insurance Act 1938. If the type of the insurance company is life insurance company or general insurance company, the paid up equity capital, the paid up minimum equity capital is 100 crores. Whereas if it is a health insurance company, the paid up equity capital exclusively for the health insurance is 100 crores. Whereas the insurance company is a reinsurance company, the paid up equity capital is 200 crores. This is the minimum paid up capital requirement, right? And coming to the next, form and content of financial statements. This has been dealt in section 11 of Insurance Act 1938. What are the form and content? What are the forms? Balance sheet should be there, profit and loss account, receipts and payments, revenue account. These 4 items shall be form part of the financial statements in case of insurance companies. And coming to the audit aspect of insurance company, this has been dealt in section 12 of Insurance Act 1938. If the insurance company is required to do audit, if the insurance company is required to be audited under the Companies Act 2013, then no audit is required under this act. If it is not required the company's audit, then audit is required under this Insurance Act. That implies the audit of insurance company is mandatory. Right? You can see the flow chart there. And coming to our next topic, sufficiency of assets, section 64 VA of Insurance Act 1938. This is also one of the important section. For example, every insured or reinsured company has to maintain some sufficient margin of assets, right? At all times maintains an excess of value of assets over the amount of liabilities of not less than 50% of the amount of minimum paid up capital that is mentioned in section 6. We have already discussed that 100 crores, 200 crores, that point. We will take an example in this case. For example, consider there is an insurance company, the liabilities are 100 crores, the paid up equity capital is 120 crores. What is the minimum asset value? What is minimum asset value according to the section 64B? What it says, it has to maintain excess of the liabilities. We'll take liabilities, that is 100 crores, and excess amount is 50% of the minimum paid up capital as mentioned in section 6. That is, if it is an insurance company, if it is a life insurance company or general insurance company, it will be 50 crores, that is 50% of 100 crores. If it is a reinsurance company, then that will be 200 crores, that is 50% of 200 crores, that is 100 crores. Then the answer will be 150 crores or 200 crores, right? That is invested value. Coming to our next topic, the same topic, the solvency margin. We are discussing already. Not complied with the solvency margin. If any insurance company or reinsurance company is not complied with the solvency margin, that means they are not maintaining the asset value of the particular mentioned section 64B. What it is? Then what is the case? That company shall be deemed to be insolvent, and winding up procedures can be invoked there when an application has been filed by the authority to the court, right? And coming to the next point, the authority means here what? The IRDA has the authority to prescribe the control level of solvency margin. It can prescribe some amount control level of solvency margin. Then that particular insurance company or reinsurance company has to follow that particular control level of solvency margin. If at any time the insurer or reinsurance fails to maintain the control level of solvency margin, what happens? Then then such insurance or reinsurance company shall submit a financial plan to the authority. Okay, then to rectify the deficiency within the period not exceeding 6 months, then such insurance company or reinsurance company has to give a financial plan to the authority stating that we will rectify the mistake in our maintaining the control level of solvency margin within particular specified period, but that specified period shall not exceed 6 months, right? If financial plan is inadequate, if the authority thinks that the financial plan is inadequate, it can modify the financial plan, or it can reconsider the financial plan to the insurance company or reinsurance company. Coming to next point, if a financial plan is not submitted, if the financial plan is not submitted even though the control level solvency margin is not maintained, then such insurance company or reinsurance company shall be deemed to be the non-compliance of this particular section 64 VA. Coming to our next topic, important topic, an MCQ is expected this time on this topic, appointment of auditors, right? Appointment of auditors. In case of an if it is a general insurance company or its subsidiaries, then appointment of auditor will be done by the Controller Auditor General of India, as in the case of PSUs, right? We have London companies audit section 132, right? In case of others companies, other insurance companies, at AGM, the appointment of auditor shall be done at AGM after complying IRDA guidelines, right? We have to comply the IRDA guidelines. Then the auditor shall be appointed at AGM. What are the IRDA guidelines? We will see here. The IRDA has issued some guidelines regarding the internal auditor of insurance company. For example, I am an auditor. I shall become auditor of insurance companies, max 2 life insurance companies or 2 general insurance companies. Overall, I should be auditor of 3 insurance companies. 3 insurance companies, right? This is very important. On this only we are expecting an MCQ. Then it has also issued another guidelines like for any insurance company, joint auditor is mandatory. Joint auditor is mandatory. And coming to next topic, that is specific control procedures related to the general insurance business. This is a general question, wholesale question. You can write like there are 5 points are there: underwriting, premium, commission, claim, reinsurance. These 5 points, what we have to write? Write the meaning of the underwriting, write the meaning of the premium, write the meaning of commission, write the meaning of claim, write the meaning of reinsurance, and write the next point, prime objective of internal controls of underwriting. Why internal controls required in the field of underwriting? Why internal controls required in the field of premium? Why internal controls required in the premium of commission? For example, in commission, why internal controls are required? Whether the agent is getting the appropriate amount, correct amount as per the calculations are correct or not. For that purpose, internal controls is required. You can write it in a general manner. And coming to our next topic, the revenue items, verification of revenue items. There are many revenue items. We will discuss one by one. Premium income is one of the revenue. Claims paid is claims outstanding, that is a claims provision, and operating expenses. We will discuss the first claim premium income. Premium income, for example, it is an income. Then for every premium received, we should issue some proper cover notes or policy notes. Whether the proper cover notes or policy notes has been issued to the appropriate persons or not, or whether the proper cover notes has been serially numbered or not, we have to check. And internal check in the stamp and stationery, etc. For that cover notes, we will require stamps and stationery, whether there have any internal checks or not, we have to check. Premium accounted, this is one of the important point in respect to premium. No risk assumption without premium. The insurance company cannot assume risk without receipt of the premium. Premium received in advance, that point needs to be verified whether any premium received in advance has been accounted as premium received in the current year, or separate ledger has been maintained or not. That thing needs to be verified. And gross figure, premium received shall be accounted at gross figure. It should not be accounted at net figure. Adjusting unexpected risk reserve, that should not be done. Premium should be accounted at gross figure. In case of any GST is applicable, in case of refund and cancellation, those points need to be verified, right? This is general question as we have already learned in our IPCC verification and watching chapters. And next question, coming to the claims outstanding at the year end, that is the claim provisions. Why provisions will be there? For unsettled claims as at end on basis of claims lodged. It means the claims communicated to the insurance company, any unsettled claims are still there, whether any claim provision has been accounted or not in the books of accounts of the insurance company needs to be verified. Auditor should take care only the legal claims should legal claim provision shall be made. For example, in the policy it is mentioned if this happens, then only we'll issue claim. Then auditor has to check whether that particular situation, whether that particular point is applicable or not, whether the claim is legal or not. That thing auditor need to check. Legal claim provisions shall only be accounted. And coming to next point, provision should not be in excess of amount insured. For example, the policy amount insured is 1 lakh and the claim risk claim accounted in the books, claim provision accounted in the books is 1,20,000. That is a blunder. That point auditor need to check. Average class in case of under insurance. We have already learned in our IPCC advanced accounting or accounting group 1 or group 2. We have learned this average class. That point auditor needs to check if it is in under insurance. It is claims paid and claims registered. What are the points auditor need to verify in regarding the claims paid? Whether the claims have been bona fide claims or not, whether there are genuine claims or not. That thing auditor should verify. Whether the claims, for example, the claimant will go to the insurance company and will say, I have incurred fire accident in our company. Then that approval of claim shall be done by appropriate authority. That auditor need to verify. And he had to verify whether there is any co-insurance between the other companies, whether premium received or claim paid are in the appropriate share of the particular agreement or not. That co-insurance point auditor need to verify. And settlement amount. Settlement amount shall be verified like this. For example, the police report fees are there, survey fees are there, firefighting fees are there, photograph charges are there. These all will be incurred after the fire accident or whatever the particular situation mentioned in the policy. Then that amount shall be debit all this to the claim account. See, claim account in our insurance books, it will show credit balance because we have to pay, right? We have to pay to the claimant. Then if these police report fees, survey fees, firefighting fees, photograph charges all should be debited to the claim account, meaning if the claim payable is 1 lakh and we incurred the expenses of 10,000, we should reduce the 10,000 from the 1 lakh and we should pay the remaining 90,000 to the claimant. That point need to be verified. Claims communicated after the year end. AS4 is applicable here. Contingencies and events occurring after the balance sheet date. That point needs to be verified, examined, right? Accounting of salvage or letter of subrogation. For example, fire accident happened in that particular locality, and still some materials shall be sold as a scrap. That salvage accounting shall be verified by the auditor. A letter of subrogation means subrogation means substitution, right? When any letter of subrogation has been done or not, that thing auditor need to verify in that case. Deposit amount with courts, litigations. If there is any litigations and the matter went to the court, any amount deposited by the insurance company in the court, that point auditor need to verify in case of a claims paid. Unqualified discharge note for the claimant in case of final settlement. For example, insurance company has cleared all the dues of the claimant and the final settlement has been done. Then the claimant shall issue an unqualified discharge note. That means that our agreement has been finished, that insurance contract has been ended, right? And coming to our next topic, that is claims register. There are 6 registers needs to be maintained by the insurance company. The order is important. If you learn the order, it is very easy. Claim intimation register. First, the claimant will come and intimate to the insurance company. That thing needs to be reported in the claim. That thing needs to be that thing needs to be mentioned in the claim intimation register. And next point is claims paid register. The claim intimation has been done and claims shall be paid. Next is claim disbursement bank book. They will have internal book, bank book. They have in that from bank account they have to transfer the amount of claim to the claimant. That book, that entry shall be made in the claim disbursement bank book. And claims dockets. Claims docket means it will be like bunch of supporting evidences, like our police, just like police report fees, survey fees, survey reports, firefighting fees, and that bills, photograph charges. All those are claim dockets. And report of quality assurance team. The quality assurance shall issue a report in the particular case. That also shall form part of claim register. Salvage register. At the end of that salvage register is shall also be maintained. This has also been asked as 4 marks question in the previously, right? Important question. Once again. And coming to our next topic, the receipts and payments. As we already, receipts and payments account has already been discussed in form and contents of financial statement section 11 of Insurance Act 1938, right? In that section 11 you mention balance sheet is there, P&L account is there, receipts and payments account is there, revenue account is there. The insurance company shall follow section 11 to prepare insurance receipts and payments. And further, the IRDA regulations 2002 requires auditors should report on whether the receipts and payments are in agreement with books of accounts or not, whether auditor has to express an opinion on the receipts and payments are prepared in the applicable financial reporting framework, that is the relevant statutes or not, whether the auditor has to express an opinion whether the receipts and payments are showing true and fair view or not, right? This is receipts and payments. Only 3 points are there: receipts and payments agreement in books of accounts, opinion of receipts and payments prepared in applicable financial reporting framework, opinion whether the receipts and payments account is showing a true and fair view. And coming to the operating expenses point of view, operating expenses, right? Classification of 13 heads of Schedule 4. There are different classification of in Schedule 4 of the Insurance Act 1938. There are the different classifications are there. 13 heads they have classified. Whether that classification has been done or not, we have to check. Aggregate and apportion. All the administration expenses, first of all, they are aggregated and then they are apportioned to the particular revenue account of the particular business. That is fire business, life insurance business, marine business, hull insurance, whatever. They will apportion based on the particular policy. That accounting policy and the base of apportionment shall also be verified in case of operating expenses. And one important point MCQ expected in this point is expenses. If it is a major expense, that is 5 lakhs or 1% of the net premium, whichever is higher, then such particular expense shall be shown separately. That particular expense shall not be clubbed with other miscellaneous expenses. Expenses which do not have no direct relation to the insurance business shall be shown separately. Right? Any expenses which do not have a direct relation to the insurance business shall be shown separately in the revenue account. Right? And going to our next, balance sheet items. Balance sheet items are very easy. Verification of items. Investments. First of all, we will check the physical verification of the securities, whether the certificates are maintained by the company or not. Then we will obtain from the company under which securities have been physically maintained and which are maintained in demat form. Then we will record at branches. For example, some investment will be held at branches. Then we will go to the branch auditor. We will ask the branch auditor to certify whether the investments are really maintained or not. Then next point, certificates held by nominees agents. In that case, we will ask the nominees agents for written confirmation like SCA 505, external confirmations. Norms, valuation, disclosures as said in IRDA has been followed or not. GX13 accounting method of investments has been followed or not. TD certificates, any TDs is there, the certificates have been verified, followed, examined or not. Section 27A, 27B of the Insurance Act 1938, these provisions have been complied or not, you have to check. Right. And coming to this is disclosure requirements of contingent liabilities. This is expected question in November 2020. Disclosure requirements of contingent liabilities. We have a shortcut for this. GUSI SR. What is that GUSI SR? We'll see. G, guarantees. U, underwriting commitment outstanding. C, claims not acknowledged as debts. I, paid up partly paid investments. Yes, statutory demand in dispute for which no provision is made, or reinsurance obligations or others. Right. This is very important. Once again, GUSI SR. Okay? GUSI SR, disclosure requirements of contingent liabilities. If any guarantees has been given by an insurance company, then such points will be disclosed as a contingent liability. U, underwriting commitment outstanding. Any underwriting commitment has been given and such payment is still outstanding and we don't know what will happen in underwriting agreement, then it is a contingent liability. Claims not acknowledged as debts. Claim has been lodged but we don't know whether that will be acknowledged as a debt or not. We have to check the policy. Then it is a contingent liability. Partly paid investment, it is a contingent liability. Statutory demand in dispute for which no provision is made. If any provision is made, then it is not a contingent liability. Reinsurance obligations, we don't know what will happen, it is contingent liability, and others. Right. 1 second. And coming to our next, outstanding premium and agent balances. Actually, these two are separate, but the institute has given as a single answer. We'll study separate. First, coming to the agent. How you will verify agent balances? For example, consider agent. Who is an agent? Commission agent, insurance agent. Insurance agent will give salary or commission, right? it is payable, then it should show credit balance, right? In insurance company books, agent balance should be credit, right? Then first the auditor has to check, scrutinize or examine the control account debit balances. Actually the agent balances shall be credit balances. Then auditor has to examine the debit balances are there or not, and inquire the nature. Why it is showing debit balance, auditor has to inquire the nature. And second point, inoperative, you have to read it as combined. Inoperative and treatment of old balances with the company rules. Any inoperative balances are showing, that is the agent balance has been shown pending from the long, no transaction has been incurred, or treatment of old balances, any old balance are there, and how company is going to deal with those. Company has some rules whether they have been followed or not, and the reason for retaining old balances, why the old balances has been retained, whether we will pay to the agent or not, or any other case has happened. The reasons we have to take from the auditor. These are the 3 points. First we have to check the control account debit balances, then inoperative balances and old balances, company rules has been followed or not, reasons for retaining old balances. And coming to the outstanding premium in the sense, like insurance company is there, one person came to the insurance company, has entered into the insurance contract, he has to pay premium. That means that premium has not been paid, that is outstanding, it is due but not been paid. Then the auditor has to check the age wise, section wise analysis of the premium outstanding, how much how many days has been done, under which section the premium is more outstanding. That point in auditor has to verify. And outstanding premium collected on that, whether that outstanding premium account will be there, right? Premium paid in advance, same like premium paid as premium outstanding account also will be there. Like that premium account balance, if you check, then we can see premium, what is the premium amount outstanding, whether that amount is collected or not, we have to check. And bank guarantee or deposit, premium deposit for premium outstanding, we have to check. See, what is a bank guarantee? In while entering the contract between the insurance company and the person, there is will agreement, like if I didn't pay, if the person didn't pay the premium to the company, bank will provide some guarantee, or the person has deposited some premium deposit. If I didn't pay the premium in that particular year, you adjust the premium amount in the deposit, whether that such conditions are there or not, we have to check. And coming to our next topic, that is a co-insurance topic. Sharing of business. What is co-insurance? Sharing of business at agreed percentages. Example, there will be two parties will be there, lead insurer, other insurer, right? What lead insurer will do, he will take all the responsibilities, like he will issue the certificates, he will collect the premiums, he will pay the claims, but he will give statements to the other insurers. Same thing, premium is credited on statements for lead insurer. We have to verify in others insurance or accounting, the premium is credited on the basis of statement issued by the lead insurer or not. If there is no statement issued by the lead insurer, then the accounting shall be done based on the advices from the lead insurer. The auditor needs to verify whether all incoming advices from the lead insurer have been accounted or not. Claims and provisions, claims paid, accounted, advice. If claims provisions shall be made, claims paid, that particular share of the co-insurance company shall be paid in according to the advice issued by the lead insurer. And share of claim shall also be verified, that is how much share will be there for the particular insurance company. That agreement, that prescribed percentage shall also be verified by the auditor. And coming to our next topic, that is reinsurance topic. It is an important topic. What is the meaning of reinsurance? Agreement between ceding company and reinsurer to accept the certain specified share of risk or liability. Ceding company will be there, reinsurance company. Ceding means to pass the risk. For example, insurance company A is there, and one person came to that company and has insured. One contract has been entered and the premium has been paid. But A company thinks that he can go with the reinsurance of another company, B Limited. Then A Limited will be called as ceding company and B Limited will be called as reinsurer. Right? Ceding company is the original insurance company. If any claims, liabilities is on original company only. This is like same our example, external auditor, internal auditor. External auditor cannot be relieved from his responsibility. Same like original insurance company cannot be relieved from his liability, even if the insurance has been reinsurance. Original insurance company only has to pay to the claimant. There are two types will be there: reinsurance inward, reinsurance outward. We'll see what are the reinsurance inward and what is the reinsurance outward. For example, consider I as an auditor and my client company is an insurance company. Like first we'll see reinsurance inward. My client company is paying is receiving premium, from other insurance company, and if any claims have incurred, my claim company is paying to the other insurance company the respective claims. That is called reinsurance inward. We are receiving the premium, reinsurance inward. Same case, my client company is paying premium to get reinsured with other companies. Then my client company will be the ceding company, other companies will be other companies. Then it is called reinsurance outward. Premium is going out, reinsurance outward. How we will verify the reinsurance outward or reinsurance inward? Right. Verification. First of all, we have to check the internal control system, and then also we have to check adequate guidelines and procedures have been followed or not. We have to reconcile with the that ceding company, that premium insured, premium received, premium paid, claims received, foreign exchange regulations, AS 11. Those points we have to verify. Our next topic is the types of reinsurance contracts. There are facultative reinsurance contracts, treaty reinsurance contract, under treaty reinsurance contract, proportional reinsurance contracts, non-proportional reinsurance contract. Under proportional reinsurance contract, quota share, surplus, out of fact, pools, excess loss, stop loss. I'll just say one by one. What is facultative? It is a old method of a reinsurance type of contract. In this, only one particular risk only will be reinsured. That is in case of treaty reinsurance. All the risks will be reinsured for a specified period of time. Whereas in case of a proportional treaty reinsurance contract, all the premiums and claims will be shared in a proportional basis. Whereas in case of a non-proportional basis, all the reinsurance company will only be liable if the loss of the insurance company exceeds the particular amount has been agreed while entering into the reinsurance contract. Right? You can just go through this topic. And coming to our next, that is trade insurance topic. This is an important topic. We may expect a question from this. Meaning, what is the meaning of trade credit insurance? The protection to the suppliers against the risk of non-payment by their buyers. Means it is giving protection to the suppliers for non-payment of amount by the buyers to the suppliers, because for the services rendered or for the goods purchased. There are two types of risk: domestic risk and exported risk. If the supplier and buyer is in the same country, domestic risk. If the supplier is in one country and buyer is in another country, export risk. What are the requirements for trade credit insurance? The loss arises non-receipt of receivables. For example, the loss must arise to the supplier on the basis of non-receipt of receivables. The supplier means the supplier shall not enter into any factoring agreement or reverse factoring agreement, and the buyer is liable to pay. The buyer is really liable to pay the amount. Then the premium is paid. The premium is paid to the supplier, to the insurance company. Any other requirements, right? This is trade credit insurance. And coming to our other topic, unexpired risk reserve. This is recently asked. We are not going to discuss. Just have a look into that. That's it. There are some topics, life insurance topics for the new syllabus students. We are not covering this. That's it all for now.